Hi, this is Mark Chropufka, and this is PMP Exam Preparation, Power Tips to Give You the Edge. So I'm Mark Chropufka, PMP. I'm an IT Academic Technology Manager at the City University of New York, and I've just recently took and passed a PMP. So I put this together because I wanted to share and narrow down some of the resources that are out there. There's some wonderful material out there for preparation for the PMP exam, but sometimes there's so much of it out there you can be overwhelmed. So I want to share some of my methods for preparation, and hopefully they can help you. And know that though the PMP exam is really hard, if you prepare properly, you definitely can pass it. You just have to take the time to do the work, but you can do it. So in the exam, I'm going to share with you some power tips for the actual exam day. But if you want some tips for preparation, I have another video that I put together. You can go to Mark and Ed, that's my channel, and please subscribe. But the video is called PMP Exam Preparation. It's a roadmap to success. I detail my journey in actually getting ready for the exam. In this video, I'm actually going to talk more about the exam day, but please check out my other video that will actually give you some more of the methods that I use to actually prepare for the exam prior to exam day. So let's come back into our presentation real quick. So power tip number one, know your peak exam time. And again, you may know this from your work experience or from previous school experience, but you need to know like when the peak time of day is to take the exam. If you don't, you can use mock test to figure that out when you feel best. And as you're taking the test, and as I recommend later, you should definitely take several pre or mock test for the PMP exam. There's many free question sites out there. There are also some paid ones. I recommend you find the one, use a variety of them to get used to the exam, but definitely take the exam under the actual conditions. So that way you're prepared come exam day. Just beware when you go to schedule the exam that you schedule the exam as close to your peak time as possible. And one thing I noted when I actually went to schedule my exam, I was actually doing it at sometime in October, and I was surprised that there were so few dates available until I think it was late December. And I would have preferred, let's say, late morning to do, because I felt that's my peak exam time. But unfortunately, they only had an 8:30 time slot, which I chose, and it actually worked out fine. So just keep in mind, you want to know your peak exam time and make sure you schedule the exam around that. Power tip number two, more practice equals less panic. So obviously, as we said, don't underestimate the exam. You want to spend the time to study and learn the PMBOK. But I'm going to share with you a site that I found really helpful. But before I do that, I also want to recommend, again, make sure you do several full-length practice exams, not only to get used to the exam itself, but to find out, as we talked about, know your peak exam time. And peak exam, PM exam simulator, PM study, examcentral.net. I actually discussed these in more detail and how to log into them and gain access to them in my other video. But here's a site that actually, and as I said, I talk more about them in PMP Exam Preparation Roadmap to Success, but this is another site that I highly recommend. It's called edwarddesigner.com. It's PMP, and again, Edward is a web developer, and he's actually taken the PMP exam. His name's Edward Chung. And if you go to a site, again, I actually put the link in my video. You'll see if you go to Edward Chung, if you come down, he actually details his entire PMP journey. So this site is great for not only notes, but also some practice exam questions and just a general overview. Great site. So highly recommend if you check out edwarddesigner.com. Link is right here. So power tip number three, set your exam pace. And again, this coincides with doing the mock exams As you do that, you're going to improve your question pace. You'll get used to the types of questions that are on the exam. But remember, you have 240 minutes to answer 200 questions, or 1.2 minutes per question. Each question is worth a point. So if you have a hard question, it's worth no more than an easier question on the exam. And keep in mind, 25 of the 200 questions are experimental, and they're not going to count towards your score. So the PMP, what PMI does is they try out new questions and see how they are. They try them out, and then if they're successful, they may end up on an exam. But you will definitely see these questions, and you won't know that they're experimental. So my suggestion is, if you're struggling with a question, select your best guess. Don't leave it blank because you don't get credit for unanswered questions. Mark it. You have the ability to mark questions, and then at the end of the exam, you can see the ones that you've marked, you can see the ones that you've answered, and the ones that you haven't answered, which obviously you want to make sure you select a response. And like I said, don't leave it blank, mark it, move on to the next question. That way you can get to all the questions. There'll probably be other questions that you can answer quickly, and you'll be able to save the harder questions for review at the end of the exam or later on. Again, power tip number 3, set your exam pace. Know the exam location is power tip number 4. So I highly recommend visiting the exam center before your date. I personally, I went to the front desk. I also called ahead and asked to confirm about the ID that you needed. And also asked if they had earplugs. In my case, they had earplugs as well as the silent headphones. And I definitely highly recommend those to enhance your concentration, because you will be taking the exam with folks um, that may be using a keyboard for their particular exam. And again, you're taking it with a variety of people taking many different exams, not only the PMP. So I went several days ahead. I also recommend knowing where the restrooms are, so that way if you do have to take a break, you know how far away it is. And honestly, if you have to, like I said, the break time does take about, you have to check out and they have to scan you and make sure that you don't have anything on you. So you're going to have to allocate, I would say, about 10 to 15 minutes to schedule a break during the exam, because the exam clock does not stop once it starts. So just keep that in mind. And as I mentioned, your ID, make sure your ID that you're going to use to enter the exam, you're going to have to provide that to the PMI, to the Prometric Center. Make sure it has your name and address, it matches what you used to sign up for the exam, and has your signature. If not, you're going to need to show a credit card or as a second form of ID with your signature. So keep that in mind. Power tip number 5. So as you're entering the exam, basically the representative from the Prometric Center will scan you, make sure you empty your pockets. Once you get into the exam, you have 15 minutes to do the pre-exam tutorial. So you learn how to navigate through the exam. You'll see there they show you how to mark questions, they show you how to review questions, and they also show you how to activate the calculator. There's a little button to bring up a calculator, which one thought is, when you're actually doing your mock exams, make sure you use like a Windows calculator so you get used to the feel of it during the actual exam. So as you're doing your dump sheet, you should be practicing that. I would say, again, in preparing for the exam, customize the dump sheet for things that you need to remember that you're struggling with. And as I always say it, write it, and read it. So if you're having trouble remembering something, make sure you do all 3. You're writing it, you say it, and you read it to yourself as you're writing it out. And you'll find that you'll remember things a lot more readily if you're doing that. So again, many suggest for the dump sheet doing the 47 processes and EVM formulas. Honestly, it could be whatever you want it to be. I would recommend, if there's a concept or something that you've had a hard time remembering, something that keeps coming, that you keep getting incorrect in the mock exams and you keep forgetting, make that the first thing you put on your dump sheet so you remember it for the exam. Again, you have 15 minutes to do this. It may not take you all 15 minutes, but one thing I also recommend, and this is power tip number 6, is practice breathing. to relax. Make sure that you go into the exam. And again, as I talked about, more practice equals less panic in my earlier tips, but make sure you're relaxed. You don't want to be panicked. You want to try to tackle the questions. You want to get your dump sheet down. And in the last 15 minutes, maybe just take a minute to relax. I will definitely recommend I do some visualization. You know, the exam is difficult, but not impossible. And envision yourself passing the exam. Um, when you not only when you're doing the practice mocks, but also when you're doing the real exam. That's why the practice mocks are important. So you get the feel of the real exam. Definitely recommend. You don't want to be seeing the exam for the first time, you know, without having done the practice mocks. You want to go through it, and trust me, the more practice, the less panic. So don't panic. Do preparation. Is my final thought. And again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Mark and Ed. If you have any questions or anything else you'd like to know, please let me know. Again, I'll bring up my YouTube channel. It's Mark and Ed. You can subscribe there. And thank you so much for watching. And again, please leave a like or any comments that you have on my videos. And best of luck in your preparation for the PMP.